From my understanding, Jonas, you work a lot on the tactility and the aesthetics around collections, and Casper, you're very involved in engineering and technical aspects. Is it cleanly divided, or is there a big overlap?
It's you can say that we have the same view on aesthetics, but our approach, the way we start on a project, is from each from different directions, and then all our discussions overlap in aesthetics. So it's quite useful to start in different places and work together to find the best result.
It's not that divided, actually.
It's not divided in that way, no.
I think we have opinions about everything. A lot of very vivid discussions about designs. But I think definitely you're right that I maybe have a very strong passion for aesthetics, and that's my general perspective on design and architecture in many ways. And you're much more interested in going to the small technical details and solving.
I love making prototypes and myself. That's
your approach to design and spaces feels like there's a great deal of empathy in it. You're really thinking about the people in the space and how they use the space and how they feel. Has that always been the case? You've been working a lot in the hospitality space now and restaurants over the last several years. Has that really amplified that level of empathy and thinking of your patrons as guests?
I don't know if the hospitality work in itself has amplified, but it's an interesting place to work because you have to cater to both the idea of entertaining, traveling, socializing, being private, all in one space. So you have all these different elements of creating excitement and comfort and safety at the same time. Kind of like basic human needs for dwelling. So you see all these different typologies kind of merging into one. You also see elements of hospitality being used in residential settings. You see elements of hospitality coming into workspaces as part of a retainment policy for employees. So it really kind of fits well with our design philosophy. That was actually something we wrote as a small manifest in 2007-8 when we were about to start the company.
You've coined this term soft minimalism. How is that different from regular minimalism for you?
When we graduated from the academy in Copenhagen, minimalism had gotten kind of a negative ring because through the 1980s and 90s, it was considered a style that was like very stark, white resin walls and floors, stainless steel counters, and
it's cold.
Indirect, very cold and very. Our idea to rephrase it was to create something that drew much more on these simplistic cultures and their visual expressions, where you use natural materials but work without too much ornamentation, rather than working with this. Style from the 80s and 90s. And the interesting thing, I think also when we started planning Norm Architects, postmodern design was very much in vogue at that time. So it was very playful and expressive with designers making big plastic horses with lampshades on their heads and playing with all these elements. And I think we were raised in a much more modernist, classic Scandinavian design tradition and wanted to continue down that path, and that was also why we chose to name the company Norm, to say we wanted to work with existing norms and standards that had been refined over centuries rather than try to make a design revolution.
So what does 3 Days of Design mean to you both personally, and what does it mean for Norm Architects?
Well, to start with, it's a way to connect with the rest of the design community. On a personal level, it's just 3 nice days in a nice city. Friends from the business, so on the personal level, it's just a super event.
And you've got Norm Architects is involved in several really exciting installations, products, and happenings about about town. Can you tell us a bit about what Norm Architects is doing in 3 Days of Design this year?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of different product launches and exhibitions around town. Back in 2008, we created Auto House in Nordhavn, which is kind of like a hybrid space where it's both office spaces combined with the restaurant, cafe, concept shop, and hotel. And Copenhagen is very famous for this period with neoclassicism, so a lot of beautiful iconic buildings around Copenhagen, and the Auto House is just like a late part of that fascination with classical architecture. So we've looked into this very natural materials that comes from organic sediments that have created limestone that you use for paint. That is just like really interesting, and we made almost like a natural, historic, or geological exhibition exhibiting the nature of limestone, and then we've created artworks that are on display together with all the colors and walls integrated in this beautiful building.
Well, Craig and Scott, it's lovely to be here with you at 3 Days of Design. What an amazing exhibition space that you've created. Maybe let's just start with a little bit about yourselves. Originally hailing from Sydney.
From Sydney, from
Absolutely.
Australia, right? And architecture is my background originally, then came to Europe many, many years ago before settling in the United States. And then moving from not completely moving from architecture, but then getting into furniture design. Having always loved furniture, and always appreciating how important furniture is to experiencing the building.
And create the story.
Yes, so it was always super important, and
Great, and Scott, you have a background in luxury apparel and design.
Yes.
Bally and Ferragamo being some of the amazing brands that you've done.
Yes. And so I came into design from a marketing point of view. So started in marketing, went into creative direction, leading different design teams, and then found it was a really good fit of the kind of the strategic aspects, of the business aspects, and the design aspects. And so that's how Craig and I work really well together, because we have different roles, but have to be very much in sync.
And you've been together professionally and in life for over 20 years now.
Ooh,
almost 30.
Almost 30, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And almost 30 years later, you call New Canaan, Connecticut home, which has a really authentic connection with modernism. Can we just spend a few minutes talking about our town, New Canaan, because we all live there and love it, and it's a big part of the inspiration for why we're here today.
Well, we originally came to New Canaan on a whim because Craig was working on an architectural project in Pound Ridge. And we took a drive on the weekend. That was before the Glass House was open as a museum. Philip Johnson was still alive. We knew about New Canaan, of course, but we had never been there. So we just, on a Saturday afternoon, took a drive, and the rest is history. Yeah. So we kind of fell in love with the place, and it was just like one thing led to another. And we bought a modernist house that we totally renovated, and it's not the house we live in now. I believe you're still renovating. No, that was a different house. Different house, and so we've been there since 1998.
98, yeah, and it's this incredible history of modernism, as we know. So it was such a great combination of the old Connecticut town and modernism. Where else can you find that?
Absolutely. I mean, it really was the town that in America that put modernism as an ethos for living on the map in a residential context, right? And so
with all the greats, Breuer, Philip Johnson, John Johansson,
the whole Harvard Five, absolutely.
And they had the famous Modern House tour that started in the 1950s, where lots of people would come up to see these crazy new houses that were being built.
Now you're across the street from the Glass House. You're avid supporters. I myself am on the advisory council. So the fact that we're coalescing around this amazing project, which we'll talk about, it's really a match made in heaven.
Yes, we originally experienced the Philip Johnson, Richard Kelly design lamp at our own house. Our house, the Hodgson house, had one of the original lamps, if you look at the original archival photographs. And the whole idea of the lamp was to solve the problem of how you light a modern glass building, because at night, of course, you have reflections in the glass. And so it was really something that Philip Johnson initially struggled with. And then he and Richard Kelly came up with this idea of really kind of turning the light upside down in a way, lighting from the bottom and then reflecting the light back down from the reflector. And so the benefit of that is that you get no bounce back in the glass at night. You just get this sort of warm glow around the seating area at a very low level. And so it was the perfect solution for the Mies van der Rohe setting of furniture in the glass house, and you know, we experienced that, and it was just such a beautiful architectural form, but also a beautiful functional lamp that we thought this lamp needs to be back in production, and so
it's truly one of the most beautiful pieces. So we're here in your glass pavilion, which in many ways emulates the essence of the glass house, but you're certainly not intent about replicating that. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the architectural and design process of this pavilion and why you chose it.
Well, it's really important. The lamp was designed for an all-glass building. Absolutely. So we thought if we have to sort of somehow give the idea of that, of where it came from as well. So
not that you need an all-glass pavilion to have the lamp.
No,
but to understand the story. Right. So in an abstract way. So it was a very ambitious task. But the idea of building a small glass pavilion here to showcase the lamp, and then also to show the lamp, even with the layout, it's our furniture, it's all contemporary pieces, but the layout is exactly as it is shown in the glass house. Yeah. So you can see how the lamp is used. So we just thought that was really powerful to tell its story, basically, and where it came from, why it was designed, because it's critical that how it functions in an all-glass building. So even proportioning the structure, but then of course the glass house is a very famous architectural building, so we couldn't just have any old glass structure.
No, we are about authentic design too, right? So we want our own take on it.
Yes, and real architecture. So we ended up working with the company that does a product, a system, a very architectural system that we could play with and work with, and then in the situation where we are, we can also design the structure to work a little bit with the location in terms of how we use screenings and opening around the glass itself. So, but I think it's just very important to show the actual idea of the place of where it came from.
Now, we're here at 3 Days of Design. Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose to use 3 Days of Design as the moment to launch our lamp?
Well, we actually came to 3 Days of Design and exhibited for the first time last year with Arc Journal, the partner here at this space. And we really had a wonderful experience because I think that we've been showing for years in Milan. Milan is obviously the biggest, the most important show. But Milan is also, it's very big. And I think that Copenhagen still has that little more sort of smaller, more
inclusive
focused,
feeling.
more inclusive feeling.
Yeah, it's familial here.
Exactly. It's a little bit more casual, but I like that. And then the quality level is also very good. I also think that, you know, we love Danish design. We've always loved Danish design. We're also wood guys, you know, like we love wood. So I think to showcase, you know, like wooden furniture here in Denmark, and really, we want to be part of that sort of international discussion too. Like we feel that we want to do product that is as world-class as any of the other Danish or other brands here. And so we want to be part of that energy, that excitement, and that international recognition of good design.
Absolutely.
You know?
And there has been an incredible energy here this week.
There really has.
You can feel it in your bones.
Yeah.
Well, Helle, 10 years ago, you dreamed of opening your own sweet shop and were inspired by Willy Wonka. Can you talk a little bit about your background and what led you to open your own brand?
Yeah, I mean, I've been all over. I've been doing fashion. I studied at St. Martin's fashion, and that's back in 2001, so it's a long time ago. And did my own brand for a couple of years, and then I totally switched to fine art, made a lot of paintings, a lot of glass as well, actually glass installations. And that was my first kind of like touch with the glass, which I loved, absolutely loved. And then I think it just slowly moved into, from black, I was actually quite black and white back then.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was quite weird.
Imagine.
No, yeah, it's true. No, but the Willy Wonkas, it came from, did my first lamp in 2017, but that was it was a spotted lamp, which more animal look. And then I did a whole lamp in a different color, and it was pink, it was honey, it was mint, and suddenly they were just all standing around me, and oh my God, it looks like bonbons, it looks like a candy store. And then I remember me as a child, and then also growing up thinking, I would love to do the candy shop. I really don't want to run it, but just to do the universe. So whatever you do in glass, if you do it well, it's beautiful. There's a lot of awful glass out there, as you know. There's small bits and pieces put together in the wrong way. That's how I see it. But if you actually make, well, the beauty of the material is there. So that was my vision when I found the material. There was a whole new world out there and untouched. And I just wanted to make the glass beautiful.
So you describe yourself as always having been the artist. And that your whole life has really been about one big art piece. But talk to me a little bit about how transitioning from pure art to a business owner and really starting this brand has evolved.
Yeah, I mean, I've been an artist for many years, but I also have this business side of the whole thing a little bit. I'm interested in that. I was in my studio every day painting and thinking, oh my God, there's only one buyer for this painting. How can I actually make something that's a little bit out there? And I wanted to do objects more into going into the design world. For me, I've never had a plan apart from, in a way I do, but whatever happens, and my world is all about creativity. I don't know anything else. The business I like, because I like to start to earn some money. Mm-hmm. In the age of 40. That's important. I earned my first money when I was 40. That's how it is. But I prefer to be a struggling artist and to do and create. That was my freedom.
Tell me about your inspiration behind this beautiful exhibition for 3 days this year. Sounds like it's a nod to the past and a wink to the present.
We had this idea of, I had this idea of, it's like a monogram kind of thing. And so doing that, it just started to move into my world, and getting a little bit into my 80s, my teenage room with the whole palm tree above my bed. A bit tacky, but it was a dreamy universe back then as well. Can you imagine to be able to go to a bouncy beach? And that was also a part of my big thing and wish. I have been to the bouncy beach. So the palm tree suddenly came up. How do you make a stamp? Do you call it a stamp? Is it? Yeah, and how do you make that? And suddenly, oh right, okay, some of my glass actually looks like a stamp. Okay, so to create something out of like something like that, and then out of glass, and you can stack them together. And it's just, I mean, it just continued the whole idea. And then I wanted to do some chilies down. I mean, the whole thing is very much like what I love. It's always like that, what I love, I guess.
right, Marie, so let's start with you. Tell me what drew you into this amazing world of design.
So I think growing up in Denmark, I have a little bit of a head start, right? We're quite spoiled when it comes to the way we grow up with design. So, and I think it's always fascinated me. I think across design, lifestyle, and everything connected to it. I've been a collector of lighting pieces for many, many years. So it's always fascinated me, and therefore it felt very natural for me to spend my time there.
And what about furnishings in particular, right? You could do design in any category. Why'd you pick this one?
So I think the home is extremely important for us. We've always been accustomed to inviting people into our houses in the Scandinavian countries, and therefore the home is kind of like a sanctuary. It's also furniture pieces are more than just pieces. They're like objects for memories and emotions, and I just think it's super fascinating. I love beauty as well, the functionality part of it, the craft. I think there's so many great layers to dig into, so I just really like the combination of working with furniture and lighting in combination, so yeah.
Well, we can definitely see all of your creative energy in the GUBI products. How do you balance authenticity with contemporary design and really make sure you live by your brand value?
Yeah, so for GUBI, it's never about nostalgia. So when we bring out some of the historic pieces and some of the archival pieces, it's because we feel that they are relevant today. And I think that's the harmony between the historic pieces and the contemporary that's really interesting and exciting. We stand on the shoulders of the past, and we can see that in the designers that live today, right? They take inspiration. And then I think at the same time, there's also a little bit of a cultural anchor, which is important for all of us as human beings. And I think we get that from the historic pieces.
Absolutely. One of the things that I love about GUBI, and certainly we do across all of the DWR team, is actually how this brand stands out in the sea of Danish design, right? There's a real authenticity to Danish design. We know that. I think you really pull yourselves across a wider spectrum or continuum of style than maybe some of your contemporaries in the market.
For sure. I mean, GUBI has an international outlook, and I think that's what you see in the brand. We have our own style, and you can see that we have this anchor. So a big part of our team is also the design team is anchored in Milan. So you have that combination between the Italian vibe and the Danish vibe, and that's very present in our brand expression.
I think so too. Now, it's 3 days of design. It's a really busy week. You've got a great buzz in the showroom. What are you most excited about this week?
It's a moment of truth, and I really like that. So this is the moment where a lot of the things that you've been working on, your creative vision, the products, the pieces, some of these pieces have been in the making for years.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we pull them out and show them in context to a broader audience, and you get immediate feedback. And I just love that. I love the dynamic.
Visually, right?
Exactly.
You're going to watch people's faces.
Exactly. You can see if they stay in a piece or if they touch it. We're sensoric human beings. How do they interact with the pieces? So I really love that. I really like that moment of truth. It's very intriguing.
And quite often when you show products at the show, you still have the opportunity to tweak things, right? They're maybe in the second prototype.
Yes, and we do have pieces here that are ready to go into production, but where we've held back a little bit and say, okay, which type of finishings do people are people most attracted to, and so forth, right? So it is a good moment, and some of these pieces are not ready until the fall, so we still have time to make adjustments.
We believe that style is not about trend, but about lasting design. But what do you think is going to be the favorite new style that you have at this show?
So I feel quite confident that the hero of the show is Tobias Skarba's Elogio sofa. This is a beautiful piece. I almost get goosebumps when talking about it and he's here, he's 90 years old. He's been super involved in the process, and he's a maestro, right? He designed through 6 decades. We have seen and admired so many of his pieces, and there are many attempts on doing really good sofas, but I would say that the Italian sofas, they're quite stand out.
And much more comfortable than you would expect as well.
Exactly, and so we're extremely proud, and this is also a piece where the feedback has been incredibly positive.
Bye.
Well, hi Kirsten, it's lovely to be here at 3 Days of Design with you. We're right on the corner of Nyhavn in this beautiful restaurant. We're going to celebrate 3 Days of Design and a really special launch of Model 82, which is a partnership between Muller and Design Within Reach. Let's learn a little bit about you. You're the CEO of this amazing organization that's got a tremendous amount of heritage. But you're originally from Minneapolis. You actually weren't born and raised in Denmark, but you summered here, and obviously your heritage is here. Can you just tell me a little bit about that journey and what that experience has been like for you?
Yeah, I grew up in a suburb of Minneapolis called Eagan. Father is Danish and mother is from Seattle, Washington. But the father side of the family was the second generation in the Møller factory. So at this time when I was growing up, my grandfather had already passed, but my grandmother was still alive. And so we would visit her every summer for 6 weeks and stay at our summer home, and then also to go up to the factory and see what was running up there. But it was always a shorter period. I moved to Denmark for school purposes.
Okay.
It was never to get involved with the family company. I grew up hearing about the factory that existed and that we produced dining room chairs that my grandfather had designed. But that was really all that we talked about this company. And so when
you didn't talk about the craftsmanship, the magic that goes into making these chairs by hand. Okay.
So we obviously could see that, and my father had a furniture store as well, so we all grew up in that, helping out on the weekends and assembling furniture, selling furniture. So we came from a furniture family, and Møller chairs were always the most exclusive dining chair in our store. But details about the past and the history of the company. My grandmother was also, she could understand English and she could speak a little bit of English, but it was also limited. So when we would be around her and talk with her, it was always about family and how she was doing, and it was never about the company or about the factory. So I didn't grow up born into it, you could say.
Okay.
It was really something that when I started in 2016, a few months went by and I could just see the potential that this company had. And
so will you tell us a little bit about the production process, the design and production process itself?
So the designs were all by my grandfather, Niels Otto. So he designed the entire collection that we produce today between 1951 and until his passing in 1982. So everything that we produce today was designed during that time period. In terms of production, our ethos is that we want to maintain all production in Denmark. So we have everything from the cutting of the raw planks of the timber to the final weaving and final upholstery. We all do it in a city called Højbjerg, and it's right outside of Aarhus.
This is otherwise known historically as the embassy chair. Can you tell us about the origin of this particular ladder-back chair?
Yes, so the origin is, it was designed in 1970. Up until this point, my grandfather had designed 5 different chair models, and they were all sort of a similar back height. And they were exporting all over the world then, and international customers asked if there was ever going to be a higher back version. Mm-hmm. And so this was the next model, designed in 1970, and was immediately sold into many embassies, among others the United States Embassy and the USSR back in the days.
Excellent. So it's got quite a heritage. We're really honored to reissue it with you. And tell me about the process of aligning with the Design Within Reach team on this particular chair and why it's a great fit for both of us to collaborate on.
Well, the story behind the chair coming back to life is we had a representative from DWR visit us at the factory last year. And we have an area where all of our archival pieces are stored, and you have to crawl up a ladder to get to that area. And so she crawled up the ladder with us, and we were walking around and looking at the various pieces. And this one was tucked away in a corner with about this much dust covering the seat. And she took a picture of that and asked about that, and we said, well, it's not fully, it hasn't been active in production since the mid-1990s. And she didn't say much of anything else. She took a few photos, and then a few months later she emailed us and said, how quickly can you make a new one of this model? And now we're here.
Well, at the end of the day, our buying team are really curators, and we're persistent, and we wait to find the perfect product.
Yes.
Because we believe in authentic design, and we want to make sure that we're bringing exclusive heritage product along with new contemporary designers to market simultaneously. So it's all about finding the right time to introduce a new product or an archival reissue, and striking that balance between archival reissues and contemporary designs.
And you've done just that.
We have. We're excited about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are here at 3 Days of Design, which is a really special way to get our community, our design community together across editors, designers, retailers, curators. And the theme this year is Keep It Real. And we've talked a little bit about authenticity and the fact that these are archival products, but what does the theme this year mean to you?
I mean, it couldn't play more into who we are as a company and as a brand. We have been maintaining the same production techniques since the founding of the company. The chairs that you see, they're timeless. They're still being produced in many of the same ways that they were when they were initially set into production. I think that's sort of the definition of keep it real. Do what you do, be yourself.
Lisa, so nice to see you here at the Design Museum in Copenhagen on a beautiful day during 3 Days of Design. How does it feel to be sitting on your products at such an incredible space?
It's a little bit surreal, actually, to be honest. Sitting here at the Design Museum, which is actually an old hospital. Really? So where actually in the older days, patients were rolled out in the garden here, where they could take in some fresh air and natural daylight to restore their health again. So having the dream view actually in a setting like the Design Museum is both something I'm really proud of, but it also makes such a lot of sense.
There's a connection, right, to the inspiration behind the design.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about that?
So actually the dream view bench was designed during COVID-19. So I lived in London at that moment. And it was locked down, and it was both a physical health crisis, but also a mental health crisis for people. And I wanted to sort of design a product that could nudge our health, our mental health, making a product that could ask the questions if we could design objects that could become a sort of therapy tool for us in our everyday lives. Yep. I wanted for people to look up, to connect with the sky as sort of a nature hack when you live in the city. So I was brought up in the countryside in Denmark with the beach as my neighbor, if you could say it like that. And suddenly moving to a big city where everything is fast-paced and you want to do good in your studies and your jobs and high achievements, and so it was what I looked at during COVID was that how people coped in the crisis was that they tried to go out in nature, if it was a park or just go for a walk.
Okay, so Lisa, tell us a little bit about how you made such a hard material like metal so comfortable.
Yeah, so I actually did a lot of ergonomical testing, trying to find the perfect sort of curvature for the body to fully recline and relax. And of course, you cannot make a a posture or a curvature that fits all bodies, but I did a lot of repetitive testing with family members, and so because it was during COVID, they were the closest I could
Samples.
get to try it out. So I started to go to the beach and trying to dig out actually my own posture in the sand, and then translate that into paper. And so it was like a process back and forth of drawing this curvature, trying to cut it out in polystyrene blocks. And then with other people, I kept like deducting and adding to this foam to find the perfect ergonomic, so everybody was somehow happy to sit in it.
I love hearing like you actually worked physically with nature to start the process. Yeah. You transferred everything digitally. You worked with your family to try to get the appeal to the right, average grouping of body size. So it's pretty incredible. The results are obvious. It's comfortable. So can you tell us a little bit about how you make this product?
Yeah, so it was like all of these testing with the ergonomics and the polystyrene blocks, and because it was locked down, I couldn't go to a workshop myself actually. So the closest thing I came to trying to carve out this curvature was the blocks that I carved out in. And then I went to some blacksmiths, local blacksmiths in the area where I lived at that moment, and actually I collaborated with them trying to make a prototype. And then Muuto saw it, and thankfully or luckily we share the same values about neuroaesthetics and how design can improve our well-being. So they actually embraced this whole idea of the Dream Your Bench, of having a bench where you actually invite people to be not productive, to do nothing for a while. And then in our collaboration, we did some improvements of the curvature to make it fit even more people. And they also did a lot of extensive testing, like making it even more stronger and to withstand the elements. It's the right treatment of the metal, and so that is kind of the process of how we created the first prototypes. The intention of the chair is to invite people or give people permission to actually take a break, and that it's actually productive to us to do nothing.